Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here, because we are looking at one of the most fascinating architectural wonders in human history. Seriously, we're conducting a full-blown engineering autopsy on an 800-year-long structural crisis. We're going to look at exactly how a massive, monumental construction mistake accidentally created a legendary landmark.
Okay, just imagine this scenario for a second. Imagine dedicating generations of labor to a project, building this magnificent, towering structure for almost 200 years, only to realize that it is slowly, unavoidably falling over. I mean, it's a terrifying timeline, right? We are talking, of course, about the legendary Leaning Tower of Pisa in Italy. Obviously, it's famous worldwide for those funny tourist photos, but today we're skipping all that. We are going to examine this strictly as a structural engineering case study.
All right, let's dive right into Part 1. The endless fall.
To really grasp the failure here, we first have to understand the sheer ambition behind the project. Construction on this massive bell tower for the Pisa Cathedral started way back in the year 1173. The design was just incredibly ambitious. We're talking gorgeous Romanesque architecture, elegant arches, perfectly stacked circular floors. But I want you to focus on one specific detail: massive white marble columns. That means an extraordinary, almost incomprehensible amount of weight. And the crazy thing is, when builders had finished just a few of these heavy floors, the entire tower started leaning to one side. The structural crisis had officially begun.
Which brings us to Section 2, the soft soil problem, and the real culprit behind the lean. So the flaw wasn't actually in the beautiful marble arches or the stonework itself. To find the real issue, we have to look down. The ground underneath this huge structure was simply way too soft. It was made up of these fatal foundation ingredients, this highly volatile mix of sand deposits, clay, and water deposits. From a geotechnical engineering standpoint, this severe flaw made the ground completely incapable of supporting such an enormous, ambitious weight. It was literally a recipe for disaster.
And that sets up this devastating physics battle. The tower's enormous, ever-increasing weight versus the sinking, soft soil. As the builders kept adding more floors, the tower just got heavier and heavier. And because of that soft, watery, clay-filled ground, one side of the foundation simply sank deeper than the other. The ground was literally giving way beneath them, tilting the entire massive marble structure.
And that leads us perfectly into Section 3, surviving through weight distribution. Now, this is where the story shifts from your standard construction failure into a pretty incredible physics mystery. Normally, a building like this, a towering, unbelievably heavy stone structure built on a sinking, uneven foundation, would just completely collapse. I mean, it's basic physics, right? It should have snapped in half or completely toppled over. But the absolutely amazing part is, it didn't. It somehow survived for centuries. So how exactly does a falling building just stay up?
Well, the answer is a total plot twist of structural engineering. The tower was actually saved by its unique circular design. The very shape of the building, which was honestly just chosen for its Romanesque beauty, became its accidental hero.
The secret here lies in the mechanics of something we call pressure spreading. Because of the surprisingly balanced weight distribution of that circular design, the tower's curved structure actively pushed all that heavy weight outward. So instead of all the massive stress focusing on just one single breaking point, the circular shape naturally slowed down the collapse. It was a complete accident, but it bought the tower some serious critical time.
But the circular design didn't work alone. Let's look at Section 4, how pauses saved the tower.
There was actually a second accidental historical ally that kept this massive structure from completely toppling over. Let's trace this timeline to see how it all builds. We kick things off in 1173, when construction begins. But then we hit these centuries of pauses, where wars completely bring construction to a dead stop, which eventually leads us all the way to modern engineering stabilization. Those massive gaps in time right there in the middle, those are the real secret to the tower's survival.
Talk about historical irony, right? Violent wars essentially forced the builders to drop their tools and stop working, sometimes for decades at a time. But those long, century-spanning pauses actually allowed that soft, watery, clay-filled ground to naturally compress and settle under the weight of the floors that were already built. Without those massive delays caused by war, builders would have absolutely rushed the construction, piled on way too much weight way too fast, and the tower would have completely fallen over, no question.
Fast forward to the modern era, and we arrive at Section 5, stabilizing a famous mistake. Because look, even with the settled ground and that lucky circular pressure spreading, the tower was still in very real danger of eventually falling over. But human ingenuity finally solved the problem.
International engineers utilized modern technology to carefully, and I mean very carefully, extract soft soil from underneath the higher side of the foundation. By doing this, they successfully corrected the angle just enough to secure the structure, without destroying the famous lean that everyone comes to see.
Which brings us to this very specific, very important number, 4 degrees. Today, after literally decades of careful soil extraction and high-tech stabilization, the Leaning Tower of Pisa leans at an angle of about 4 degrees. It is permanently stabilized. It's safely frozen right in the middle of its iconic fall, and because of that brilliant engineering fix, it continues to attract millions of visitors from around the world every single year.
As we wrap up, I really want to leave you with this incredibly ironic thought. If the tower had been built perfectly straight, it might have become just another ordinary bell tower. Just let that sink in for a second. A catastrophic geotechnical flaw, literally building on a watery swamp, was somehow transformed into one of the greatest architectural wonders in human history. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. It really shifts how you view our built world, doesn't it? It kind of leaves you wondering, what other catastrophic mistakes are out there, just waiting to become humanity's greatest wonders? Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll see you next time.